Welcome back to Mr. Magazine, where every rumor is examined, every whisper given context, and every celebrity moment is treated with the curiosity it deserves. If you enjoy thoughtful deep dives into the private lives that mingle with the public stage, hit like, subscribe, and consider supporting us with the join button. Your support helps us tell the stories that matter. Now settle in, this is a long one. A seemingly innocuous remark, delivered in the bright hum of a high-profile gala, has rippled outward into a reverberation that shows no sign of quieting. The two names entwined in the current swirl are familiar to anyone who follows contemporary Turkish screen life: Alina, the actress whose craft has long been the primary currency of her fame, and Navruz, the actor whose presence often reads like a quiet, magnetic force. The combustible ingredient arrived from an unexpected source, Beryl Posum, a friend within Alina's intimate orbit, during an evening when cameras circled and questions were served like hors d'oeuvres. What Beryl said, in measured tones and without dramatics, was quickly transmuted through 1,000 retellings into a single, potent assertion. What the public assumed to be a closed chapter might have in fact been preserved, not discarded. In her phrasing, the relationship had not been so much severed as it had been relocated from parade routes and red carpets into private rooms and unrecorded conversations. For an audience accustomed to witnessing every act of celebrity life, the idea that love could be purposely kept from the lens is at once confounding and intoxicating. From that modest seed of suggestion, the narrative exploded. Social feeds swelled with speculation, tabloids rearranged their front pages, comment threads ballooned with readers desperate to assign motive and meaning. A persistent thread through the responses has been the dichotomy between those who insist Alina is entitled to privacy and those who assume that secrecy itself is a strategic move in an industry that thrives on image management. The discourse has ranged from protective fervor to cynical dismissal, and every stance has reshaped the story into a slightly different beast. Alina's visible life, however, has betrayed nothing of romantic revelations. Her public postings remain scholarly, devoted to vocation, set snapshots, backstage glimpses, the small rituals that precede a performance. There has been no cascade of affectionate imagery, no deliberate coy signals meant to be decoded. Colleagues close to her recount a woman focused on the architecture of her next role, adamant that the work itself must remain unobscured by the persistent chatter about private choices. Let the applause be for the art, they say she has insisted, not for the arrangements of my life. Beryl's interventions have polarized attention further. At the first event where she made the suggestive comment, attendees later described her as speaking both from loyalty and from a desire to reposition the narrative, to suggest that a relationship could exist without the performative trappings that once suffocated it. When pressed again at a later evening, the very image of celebrity glamour under floodlights, she repeated the sentiment with a tone that stopped questions mid-flight. She offered neither confirmation nor denial, and that refusal to specify has been received in the wild, contradictory ways typical of any hint that court scandal and sympathy in equal measure. Opponents of Beryl's remarks argue that to allude to private matters is itself a breach, that friendship may require a protective silence, particularly about elements that were once dissected publicly to the point of exhaustion. Supporters counter that her words served as a shield, repositioning attention from salacious rumor to human complexity. Viewed through either lens, what emerges is also a study in modern celebrity etiquette. When an individual attempts to migrate intimacy beyond the glare, the collective appetite for spectacle turns even restraint into a spectacle. If there is a single reason the public refuses to relinquish this storyline, it may be because Alina and Alp, even when apart, project a kind of parallelism that invites narrative stitching. Their professional energies have always aligned in ways that feel complementary to onlookers who adore story arcs, and this sense of inevitability has fed the rumor machine. Fans whisper about a night at a mutual friend's birthday where both were present but mindful of distance, gestures small, eyes meeting and yet not meeting, the choreography of people who once knew how to be close under cameras and have since relearned how to be discreet without extinguishing care. And yet public curiosity will not be easily soothed. Commenters offer vivid alternate realities. One insists that if nothing is happening then there is no reason for secrecy, another maintains that truth need never be served as spectacle. The dialectic here reflects larger questions about the responsibilities public figures hold to a voracious audience. Do glimpses belong to fans because fans built the platform, or do they still belong to the person living the life? The debate, in this instance, has no ready adjudicator, only a chorus of opinions that intensify the sensation of a story unresolved. Meanwhile, Alina proceeds with the disciplined attention of an artist. Interviews about her forthcoming series return repeatedly to themes of craft and discipline. When the subject of personal life arises, her replies are exact and elliptical, deflecting with the practiced grace of someone who has learned to protect not with anger but with refusal. Alp, who has likewise continued his creative trajectory with limited public disclosure, appears unconcerned with the rumor weather. His public posture is spare and professional, a containment that invites commentary precisely because it offers so little. At its most human, this episode raises a softer possibility. What if this is not drama or stratagem but the quieter evolution of a relationship that never quite concluded but shifted to an intimacy malformed for public consumption? A friend's observation, repeated to close confidants, described a recent gathering where both actors were present and exhibited a kind of mutual ease that suggested continuity rather than rupture. Phones were deliberately set aside, and conversation lasted in a manner that betrayed comfort. If such meetings are occurring, they suggest an approach that values slow rebuilding over the theatricality of public reconciliation. As for Beryl, responses to her interventions vary from praise to censure. Admirers say she attempted to reframe speculation into a narrative that allowed agency and dignity for Alina. Critics say she risked exposing the very privacy she claimed to protect. In the spin-hungry climate of celebrity reportage, acts of loyalty themselves tend to be reinterpreted as actions worthy of scrutiny. Whether her words ultimately help or harm the couple is a question likely to be answered only by time, and perhaps by the couple's own willingness to tell their truth, if they ever decide to do so. Before we close, what do you, the viewers of Mr. Magazine, think? Do you accept that public figures deserve absolute privacy in matters of the heart, or do you feel that some degree of openness comes with celebrity? Which Turkish personalities do you want us to investigate next for stories that hide in plain sight? Leave your answers in the comments. We read every response and often feature the best ones. If you found this exploration compelling, please show your support, press like, subscribe to Mr. Magazine, and if you want to go further, click join to help us keep producing thoughtful, in-depth coverage. Share the video with friends who love celebrity sagas and conversation, and don't forget to tell us who you want in the next deep dive. Thank you for being part of our community. Your curiosity is what keeps these stories alive.